There is an Australian version of The Office being made.
Oh my
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Okay, this has been talked about for a while, and I think this is a really, really bad idea. It's not going to work, and it's not going to resonate with audiences at all. I guess looking at it from the perspective of like what it is, who's in it, etc. It's been floated for a while, and from what I can gather from various sort of industry insiders that I know who I would trust, is like, of course, when The Office was getting big in the USA with the USA Michael Scott, Steve Carell version, which Australians loved, by the way, and I only first watched The Office last year. If you've listened to the podcast for a while, you would know that, and I loved it. I thought it was amazing. But when that was big, there was discussion like 15 years ago or so in Australia of making an Office Australia, because it's been localized in so many different markets. Of course, it started in the UK with Ricky Gervais, and we know the US version the most, but there are so many versions, all of which follow sort of the same character structure, but they're just very localized. You know, there's an Office India, there's an Office France. They've done it in all these different countries. And from what I understand, 15, 16 years ago, it was being discussed, and the front runner to play the lead character, which I guess is the David Brent or Michael Scott, was going to be Glenn Robbins. Now, if you're not from Australia, you might not know Glenn Robbins, but Australians probably do. Very popular comedic actor, has played Russell Coight, was in Kath and Kim, one of our biggest sort of exports, and just a really well-regarded actor, comedian. And honestly, when I heard that from some of the insiders who told me, I actually was like, wow, that would have been good. I feel like Glenn Robbins could be great at giving that kind of Australian spin on that character. Like, especially if you look at a character like Russell Coight, who was like all Aussie Adventures. It was like a parody of, like, I guess, not necessarily a Steve Irwin, but like an outback adventurer, and he was just really stupid and dim-witted. I feel like there's a skeleton there for an Australian Michael Scott style character. And for whatever reason, I heard that, it never eventuated with Glenn Robbins. Then for a while, they were talking about it again a few years ago, and for a while I heard that it was Jim Jeffries that was being approached to play the lead character, the Michael Scott or David Brent localized version. Jim Jeffries, of course, a pretty big Australian export, not very well known in Australia, but just really big in American comedy, like really well known in American comedy. And Jim Jeffries might have been okay, but again, didn't eventuate. They then started talking about it again, and it went to Magda Szubanski, which would have been interesting because it would have been a female lead for the first time. And Magda, of course, very well regarded as well, played Sharon Strzelecki on Kath and Kim, another sort of bumbling character, and just a really well regarded comedic actor in Australia. But then from what I heard, just didn't resonate with the script and didn't want to do it, so was off the project. From what I understand now, it's going to be led by Felicity Ward, again, very successful Australian comedian. Don't think she has the name power of Glenn Robbins, Jim Jeffrey, or Magda, but don't think she's definitely capable of creating that character and bringing it to life. Very interesting that they're going with a female lead. I'm not sure why they've decided to go with that. And the only other person I know that is involved is Steen Raskopoulos, who I think is playing the Jim character. So there's a bit of insight for you. But why don't I think it's going to work? Here's a few reasons. Oh, and before I get into that though, let's be real. If it was 10 years ago, I do think Hamish Blake would have been a really good pick for the lead. I don't think he would ever do it now. I mean, he won't. Why would he, is my thinking. But I think he could have been a great lead for that show. He's just got the exact kind of mannerisms and style that would lean into an Australian version of that lead character. Why won't it work? I think it's too late. I genuinely just think it's too late to do this show. Like, why now? Why are we doing an Australian version of The Office in 2023 when it finished like 15 years ago? All the other localizations did it when The Office was really hot and talked about. That's the first thing. Feels like too late, too little, too late. The other thing is The Office exists. Like, I get why an Indian office would be made. I get why a French office would be made. I get why, any country that doesn't speak English would make an office. But I just feel like I know, we are so used to in Australia seeing American sitcoms and we do relate to them a lot, right? And so I don't think we need our own version of The Office when Australians love the US Office so much. Like, we love Steve Carell's Michael Scott. And there's already that love there that, I guess in France, like making The Office France, it's like people in France who speak French, just French, probably wouldn't, not all of them, or not many of them would have seen The Office. So they localize that idea and make it as best as they can in France. But in Australia, it just doesn't feel like it's going to convert in the way that they want it to. That coupled with the timing, plus just the fact that it's been done. We also in Australia have a show called Utopia, which for a long time has been considered the Australian Office, I guess. Like, it's set in an office. It's a bit more about bureaucracy and stuff like that. But, looking at something like The Office or Parks and Recreation, Utopia really feels like it fills that gap, and it has Aussie actors. It's by Working Dog. It's got Rob Sitch. It's got Limo. It's got Dil Rook. It's got lots of Australian people, and I just don't know why The Office would work. We've also had a show called Fisk with Kitty Flanagan and Marty Sheargold, which was another really good office-based comedy. I think I think people will watch it, but I think the only reason people will watch it is to see what it's like, and then instantly the feedback is going to be, it's nowhere near as good as the original Office. Really surprised they're doing it. Don't know who thinks it's a good idea. I think it's going to Amazon, but keen to see how it develops.